Okay, well, The Road to Donetsk is a book about a very idealistic British woman who's in her 20s, very naive, who goes out to Ukraine to run an overseas aid programme there just after the fall of communism. And she falls in love with a more cynical, older American who's also working in aid in Ukraine at the same time. He's about 10 years older than her. And it plays out, their love plays out, if you like, against the background of the aid programmes that they're both working on in Ukraine.
So you wrote this book from your own experience, really, because your career was in the world of aid, wasn't it?
Yes, I did work in overseas aid in Ukraine about 20 years ago. I worked for the European Commission and then after that for the UK government. And I never lived in Ukraine, but I used to manage these aid programmes, which were very abundant, really, just after the fall of communism. And it was all about the transfer of know-how and experience from west to east. So the Ukrainians needed to know about the free market economy and about democracy. And they invited us in, if you like, to go over and transfer experience. And so there were many countries and many experts on the ground transferring experience from west to east in that way.
So Vanessa, your character, is naive, but she is passionate and determined, and she is quite successful in her small way. She runs this project, she gets to know a bunch of women who she feels very fond of by the end, and she sorts out microloans for them for things like selling honey and dressmaking, and that's quite effective. So what percentage of the aid that was done in the early 90s was actually effective in that way?
Those kind of programmes, I would say, were very effective, the microcredits. And, you know, it depended where you had these passionate people like Vanessa. But then in some ways, you know, she does kind of rush in and she does make policy on the hoof. So she does divert aid from what was supposed to be the main aid programme, the creation of job centres and employment policy in Kiev. So in some ways, maybe the Mavericks are the best at these things, or were the best at these things back then, I suppose you could say.
One of the quite cynical things that one of your characters says is that there's no such thing as altruism in the aid world. If you're an aid professional, you're either driven by power or by the need to appease your conscience. Do you feel that?
Well, that's my novel. That's what she says and that's what Dan says, and she thinks about it. I don't know, I suppose in my own personal experience, you do meet a lot of people who want to save the world, perhaps because they've had a tough life. You know, if you think it's similar to social workers or psychiatrists, we often say that they are, you know, helping others in a way to help themselves. I think you do see a fair bit of that in the aid world. But then you also see just a lot of very passionate people who really want to make a change and do good and use their lives to do it. I mean, you have some incredible people working out there, really.
You write as if you know the country very well. Did you spend a lot of time there? Did you live there?
No, I was based in Brussels and then latterly in London, and I used to visit there, but I used to get out there as much as I could, and I fell a little bit in love with the country and I wanted to travel all over. So, I think most of all I wanted to bring the people to life. It's an amazing country. The people are resilient, strong, people, particularly the women, really caught my heart, I think. You know, they are resourceful, they are intelligent and strong, but they're also extremely feminine and very motherly and womanly and quite unique, really, I think. And I wanted to bring them to life through the novel as well.
Well, it was a good read. I very much enjoyed reading it, and it was humorous and moving, and I felt I learnt quite a lot from it. Did you enjoy writing it?
Oh, I loved writing it, actually. Because I think one of the reasons I wrote it was I was at home with a small child and I'd loved the work I'd done and I was missing it, and just snatching those few hours twice a week really was wonderful, and took me back to the job I used to do, and the passion came back to me, and I loved writing it, yes.
I really like the cover as well. It's a really good idea
Thank
for a
you.
cover. Could be you. Is that you?
Well, I don't know. I don't think I was ever quite as naive as Vanessa. I always think there's more of me and Dan in the novel, actually.